You ever wonder what is really going on in a guy's head when he gets a crush? You know, that intense focus, the way his priorities can just flip overnight? It can feel like a total mystery. So today, we're going to dive in and decode the science behind it all.
So let's just start with the big question, right? Is a crush just some random, chaotic thing, a lightning strike of emotion that comes out of nowhere? Or is there something more going on? A kind of hidden blueprint that the brain is following without us even realizing it?
Well, here's the thing. It is absolutely not random. It's basically a program. A man's brain is running on this ancient biological design that gets fine-tuned by his own personal experiences. Think of it like a hidden operating system for attraction, and we're about to take a look at the code.
Okay, first up, we've got to understand the basic software that's always running in the background. This is the foundation for everything else. The 3 modes of desire. This system is pretty much always on, constantly managing how we connect and feel attraction.
That's right. The magic number here is 3. The entire system of attraction is built on this trio of distinct but totally interconnected biological drives, and each one has a very specific job to do.
So let's break them down. First, you've got lust. This is that primal urge, and it's all driven by testosterone. It's purely about motivation. Then you have attraction. This is powered by dopamine, and its job is to upgrade a person to priority number 1 in your brain. And finally, there's attachment, which is fueled by oxytocin and basically acts as the bonding glue for a real long-term connection.
In that attraction phase, whoa, it is incredibly powerful. The dopamine rush means every little interaction, like a text message or just hearing their laugh, triggers this massive jackpot feeling in the brain. It makes you crave more. It is quite literally addicting.
And this is so important to get, these 3 systems can operate completely independently. This is the biological reason why someone might feel intense lust for one person, a laser-focused attraction to another, and a deep, comfortable attachment to someone else, all at the same time. They don't always point in the same direction.
Okay, so if the 3 modes of desire are the basic software, how does the brain choose who to run that software on? Let's move on to the next layer and see how this builds. It turns out your brain uses these secret shortcuts, or psychological biases, to scan for and lock onto a potential crush. So the first shortcut is something called the mere exposure effect, and it's really simple. Your brain just loves what's familiar. It's why that coworker you see every day, or the person you always bump into at the gym, can suddenly become a crush. Your brain just gets comfortable with them being around, and that comfort can easily flip into attraction.
All right, next up is caregiver influence, and this one is fascinating. Your brain is subconsciously on the lookout for people who feel emotionally familiar, people who often remind you of your earliest caregivers. Now, this isn't about looking like your mom or dad. No, it's something much, much deeper. It's about a similar laugh, a comforting tone of voice, an emotional rhythm that just feels safe. It feels like home.
And the third shortcut? Well, it's just pure pragmatism. It's called the matching hypothesis. Your brain is basically playing matchmaker in the background, constantly scanning for someone who aligns with you in key areas, things like values, lifestyle, even your general level of attractiveness. It's looking for the connection that feels realistic, one that actually has a shot at lasting.
So once the brain has used its shortcuts to lock onto a target, things get really intense. The whole system goes into overdrive, and the brain basically turns into a full-blown chemical factory. This is where we get the actual chemistry of obsession.
You ever wonder about the physical side of a crush? You know, that racing heart, the sweaty palms you get when they walk by? Yeah, you can thank a big surge of norepinephrine for that. It's the chemical that puts your whole body on high alert, creating those classic, unmistakable physical signs of attraction.
But what about the core of that obsession? You know, the feeling of not being able to think about anything else. The real driver there is a big drop in serotonin. Normally, serotonin helps keep you calm and focused. But when you're in crush mode, those levels dip, and that leads directly to obsessive thoughts, replaying every little moment, and, yep, constantly checking your phone. It's like a biological switch for obsession gets flipped.
But look, biology isn't the whole story, not even close. That initial spark is incredibly powerful, sure, but real-world connections are so much more nuanced. So for our final section, let's look beyond that initial chemical flood and see what really shapes attraction in the long run. When you think about it, there are really 2 main paths attraction can take. First, you've got the X factor, that instant electric chemistry you feel for someone who doesn't even fit your usual type. But then there's the slow burn, where attraction builds gradually through friendship, trust, and going through stuff together.
And honestly, it's often that slow burn that creates the strongest, most lasting bonds.
And this is where your personal history starts to actively reshape that biological programming we talked about. Things like early attachment wounds, those experiences from childhood where emotional needs weren't always met, they can have a profound impact on how you manage connection as an adult.
So, how do these wounds actually show up? Well, it might look like hypervigilance, always scanning for tiny signs that someone is about to leave you. It can make it really hard to just receive kindness because it feels unfamiliar or even suspicious. And sometimes it can even cause someone to push away a genuinely healthy connection because deep down, it just doesn't fit that old, painful pattern they're used to.
Okay, I know that was a ton of information, so let's do a super quick recap with this chemical cheat sheet. You've got testosterone as the motivator, dopamine is the jackpot, oxytocin is the bonding glue, and that low serotonin, that's the obsession switch. These are the 4 key players running the whole show.
And all of this brings us to one final thought. We've seen that a crush is far from random. It's this incredibly complex dance between hormones, mental shortcuts, and our own personal history. So if our attraction really does follow this deep biological blueprint, what does that truly mean for our idea of choice when it comes to love? It's definitely something to think about.